Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Good evening.
Look at a C-Sharps 4-barrel Derringer. It's kind of a neat one. We're partial to the 4-barrel Derringers. If you've seen our videos on the cup 4-barrel, this is sort of the antique version of that. This one we figure was probably made somewhere around 1860. It's got 4 barrels. You can remove the whole barrel assembly there. Comes back in. It shoots a 32 rimfire. These are some 32 shorts, so it actually shoot a little bit longer bullet than this, but it's not exactly like you can go to the store and buy these rounds anymore. So this is what we had to show you. These are definitely old. They're more than 100 years old, along with the pistol. It's kind of neat, and I'm hoping it's going to show up on the video. But pay attention to the hammer there. The firing pin is built in, and now I'm going to let it go forward. And then as I pull it again, pay attention that it rotates. So now it's at the lower left. And now it's rotating to the upper left. And now it rotated to the upper right. So it's kind of an ingenious little hammer / firing pin there that does the rotating so that the barrel assembly can literally just be a barrel assembly. It's basically just a piece of metal. The rounds fit in like this. And once they're shot, you just drop them out. Pretty neat little piece of history. 4-barrel Derringer, made about 1860.
I'm here for service and ready for battle.
No need. We're your neighborhood go-to for easy, fast.
Recently, someone asked about Derringers, and I thought that was a great subject to talk about in a video. Let's talk a little bit about Derringers. Starting off with this one, which is the granddaddy of all of them. Now, originally, there was a guy named Derringer, and he made handheld, small firearms, and that's what we're looking at right here. This is actually a real Derringer, what they call a Philadelphia-style Derringer, made in the 1700s. This one is probably worth, well, in the neighborhood of $3,000. Extremely rare. This is actually not the same gun, but this is the same type of gun that Lincoln was shot with by John Wilkes Booth. It's a cap and ball, so you'd put the powder in, and then a wad, I guess, and then the ball. You'd ram it in with the little ramrod right there. You would put a primer cap there, and you would cock it back and shoot it until it's definitely ornate, very well made. There's just something neat about holding something like this, which is not only a piece of history, it's also a little engineering marvel. It's also very well made. It's a great example of craftsmanship and workmanship in the production of this thing. And again, this is the original Derringer made by the guy with the name Derringer with one R. And it was very popular to have a small firearm like that one, and a lot of people started to copy it, and the name got misspelled, and they became 2 R's, and that's where Derringers come from. Moving on in the history of Derringers, Like I said, this is 1700s. We get into the 1800s, and now cartridges were developed, so we no longer needed them to be cap and ball. And we've got the Remington Derringer. And this is a 41 rimfire Remington style Derringer made by Remington. And this one is marked Remington Arms UMC. So this is a later model. And it's the style that we're more familiar with these days, with the lever there, the barrels that tilt up, and the action. As I mentioned, this one is an original, and it shoots the 41 rimfire. Let's take a look at that. Probably as rare as the firearm itself, maybe even more so, is the old 41 rimfire ammunition. We have a couple of pieces of it here. Very rare. But rimfire, no primers, just like a large 22 caliber. I think these move around 400 feet per second, about half the speed of a 45 ACP. So we have our original cap and ball Philadelphia style Derringer with 1R made by Derringer. Then we get the next, 100 years later, we get the Remington style Derringers in the 41 rimfire cartridge. Moving on from there, we get all kinds of different stuff. I have no idea the age of this one. It's just kind of a neat one. You can see its barrel sort of twists out of the way. Of course, this one's seen better days, but the same idea. It uses a cartridge, single shot, single action, and exposed trigger, because the trigger doesn't do anything until you pull back the hammer. I have no idea where this one came from. I'm assuming something European, but that's one example. Another example of a style of Derringer is this one that twists out of the way. This one's a 22 short. So again, it uses a cartridge. This one is Colt. It's made by Colt. And this is this is a newer example of a what I believe was the first little single shots made for the 22 shorts by Colt. Might seem impractical, but it is one shot. It's better than nothing. Yet another type of Derringer action is this one, the twist, and its barrels twist. And you can load it on the side there. There's a little release down here at the bottom. It's an interesting little style of Derringer. Then we've got the modern day remakes of that Remington style. This one's in 30, this one's a 9mm. We've got a similar one to 38. This one's in 32 auto. So lots of these. We wish we had some of the other examples. Of course, the Cop Derringer is a iconic Derringer with its 4 barrels. There's the various Pepperbox styles. And then more recently, we have the North American Arms revolvers, which are sometimes called Derringers, which I assume is because of the size and shape, which is pretty similar, in fact, sometimes smaller than an actual Derringer. But again, I would consider these revolvers and not actual Derringers. But again, those are available in lots of different sizes and shapes. So that's a little information and some eye candy with small handheld pistols.
That's before we called it Gorn.
That are called Derringers. Hope you enjoyed a quick tour like this. And as always, thanks for watching.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.
I don't know the bullet weight or anything. Should I load it with the strip?
Ooh, that's a 45 ACP double. Let's see how interesting.
shooting at the middle one?
Has a lot of recoil, but not much to get along. Lightweight, dude.
That could give you rather stress. So I guess it is an issue with the ejection. I have it on the video them telling us how the real one had the issues, and those were the demos and stuff.
Should at least come with a little rod built in or something.
Well, you know how like a Remington style has that little thumb thing.
Well, yeah. But I mean, even if they're not going to, they should at least give you a rod that you can pull out back and use.
Yeah.
Stress. I was able to just reel it out, but it was difficult, and that was only with being clean.
We don't know what weight it is, but just some standard 45 auto.
And the horsepower making decisions.
Exactly how
I'm gonna shoot at the bottom right. That is a pretty long trigger pull.
I was well impressed. Interested to see it. Maybe hopefully.
Wow, that's a pretty long trigger pull.
But it keeps open. It's like, come on, guys. Especially when the weather cools down. I mean, people will be over there in droves. Oh, yeah. So will the other one in the wintertime.
I don't know what you're supposed to do. This ammo isn't great, but that really hurts here, and there's not a lot to hold on to. That jumping hurts here.
I'd like to see it get open. I mean, it's like
that's a lot of recoil. I think it'd be more fun to shoot a 9.
starting gun and then
But that would be definitely, we'd have 2 shots, 45 if we got it.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.
Ah, fucker, they're gonna take my copyright this. I thought this music was pretty cool back in the old days. That's a cop. It's the box that it comes in. That's the manual. It's like plastic with velvet sprayed on it. It's pretty cheap. I've been to the factory where these were made in California. It's kind of where Mr. Knives lives. He lives pretty close to it. That's the book that comes with it. That's how many parts there are. It's all stainless steel. It's got a pretty long trigger pull. Back in the day, that was the way. That was the style at the time. It's really a heavy gun, and when you hold on to it, it's like holding an old drill, really. There's a little slide up top. Is it the rear sights? It might be the rear sights, and that's what opens it up. It kind of pivots forward. You put in the rounds. And it's double action, so you don't have to do nothing. You just pull the trigger 4 times. I did a whole series of videos where it was just music, looking at guns like this. That was probably, will this thing tell me? 14 years ago. So that was 2010 that video went up.
Well, anybody watches our videos knows I'm pretty partial to these 22 shorts. I really like the caliber. It's fun to shoot. So I found this one in a store the other day, and I just had to grab it. So it's called a Twist 2 by S. Stool. So manufactured by S. Stool Incorporated, Matthews, North Carolina, and distributed by Kimmel Ind out of North Carolina. Pretty neat little 22 short type
I guess you call it a Derringer. Here's the instructions that come with it. Please read carefully. Your Twist 2 Derringer is a precision-made weapon of stainless steel and brass and should be treated as such. Do not dry fire this weapon. Do not use high-velocity ammunition. Use standard velocity 22 short cartridges only. The manufacturer and distributor assume no liability or responsibility after the gun has left their possession. And it's pretty much just typed on a piece of paper. Really like that. So what do we got? We got a pretty neat looking little Derringer frame. Very similar in shape and size to the 22 short from North American Arms. Only this one, let's make sure that it's unloaded. This one has almost like a 3-barrel setup. But as you see, I push this little switch. It twists to the side and you're able to load 2 rounds of 22 short. Probably should have had a couple ready. So we'll test this thing out. This will be my first time shooting it. Barrels look nice and clean. So you drop one in one side. And I guess I'll answer the phone. So you just twist it to the side here, and then you just drop the rounds in. Okay, so when it's twisted to the side like this, there's a little groove here in the side of this receiver. And you can sort of slide in the shell. Twist it into place. And now I'll see what it's like to shoot this little thing. No sights on it. And the trigger isn't very strong. Or the hammer isn't very strong. It didn't even hit that rim fire. There we go. I guess it's fairly accurate. I hit the steel plate out there at about 15 yards. And now I can twist the barrel. Bring that hammer back. And shoot it again. So not too bad. I don't think I'll be shooting it a heck of a lot. It doesn't seem like the strongest pistol I've ever owned. Has a little half cock there. And then I figured out I need some sort of a little rod to push the brass out. And I'll need something a little longer than that. And it also got my finger pretty dirty. So the Twist 2. Maybe somebody from North Carolina has seen one of these before. Interesting little Derringer. No sights. You definitely don't want to dry fire it. It creates a little notch up here. It makes the rounds really hard to get into the chamber.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.
Whether you have a thesis, capstone, a research paper to write this year, Grammarly is a must-have for all students. You can get 50% off.
This is another video with the Droid phone. And we're taking a look at a pretty interesting little pistol. This is a high standard Derringer. It's for 22 long rifle. It's got a pretty fast lockup. When you open it, there's the ejectors. Pretty interesting. Trigger guard is not covered, so it's, even though it's got a very long trigger pull, I'm pushing really hard on that trigger. It's not something I think I would keep in my pocket. Has a pretty nice sight. Pretty good sight picture. I've shot these at the range before, and they're decent out to fairly decent range. They've got a fairly long barrel on them for a Derringer, the business end. They're very narrow, very lightweight. I guess I do have a scale right here. Get that scale out. Looking at 10.6 ounces. So fairly quick video and an interesting little double barrel Derringer and 22 long rifle made by High Standard.
Oh, this is super old.
We're shooting the Taurus Judge 3-inch barrel, action only. So, capable of handling 45 Colt, 410 shot shells, 410 slugs. We'll shoot a couple shots at each target, show you how it works. I'm going to start with some number 6. Makes a real good, effective close-range defensive gun and snake gun. As you can see, number 6 shot wasn't a very effective defensive load at 5 yards. There's probably 100 pellets or something. We only have about 15 in the vials on there. We're going to try the number 6 shot again, only standing offhand. As you can see, the number 6 shot just didn't really put a tight pattern in the target. Spread pretty far around the target. Now we're going to shoot a 410 slug. The log didn't even penetrate the target. Now we'll try a 45 or a 410 slug. Much more effective, in my opinion. Now a 45 Colt. Seemed to have less recoil than the 45 or than the 410 slug. Today we were out shooting the Judge pistol, so we figured it'd be fitting to shoot a top as well. Top 4-shot 357 Magnum, no longer in production.
Oh, no! Oh, gosh!
I'm proud of those two. You bet.
Oh, gosh!
Cop. 4-barrel. Oh, really?
Oh!
Boy, that thing kicks like a mother. Yeah. 357.
Okay, we're looking at three firearms here, and they're sort of unique, but there's something that ties them all three together. So let's just introduce them, and then, I don't know, special awards to whoever figures out what ties them together. So first off, we have the cool 4-barrel Derringer, the Cop. Pretty neat little Derringer. Pretty unique, and that will help you limit it down because there's not that many movies that include it. Next up, we have a 5.7, which is the 5.7 by 28 pistol made by FN with the fairly decent magazine capacity. Of course, nowhere near as large a capacity as in the movie that we're talking about. And then last up, we've got a Beretta Storm, which is a pistol caliber carbine. So this one uses 9mm magazines that the Beretta pistols would use. And again, in the movie that we're referring to, they seem to be a never-ending stream unless they happen to need to have to go empty for some reason in the pot. But three kind of random firearms here that are all in one particular series of movies or TV shows. Okay, that should be a big enough clue. So, what are these from? Space 1999. Spaceballs. Battlestar Galactica. Star Wars. Star Trek. Doctor Who. The movie. Stargate. SG-1. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. All right, this is our first chance to take a look at an actual production model of the double barrel Derringer. We first saw these early 2012 at SHOT Show, and I guess they had some trouble with their manufacturer. Either the end of last year or the early this year, they sent out a release letting people know that they weren't working with Heiser anymore, that they were working with a place called Azimuth, and now their pistols are actually shipping, and this is actual production models still made here in the U.S. There's two different models, a 45 and a 9mm. This one is the 45 ACP. Let's take a look at this. Is exactly how they come out of the box. Cardboard box with some foam. You've got the manual, some marketing stuff, and looks like a lock. Got your extra round for the states you might be in. We've got a couple of speed strips, one with 6 rounds, one with 2. We'll take a look at why that's there in a minute. So let's take a look at the pistol. First off, you can see that there's a chamber indicator in there telling us it's empty, but let's double check. We've got ambidextrous releases there to open up the chambers. We see there's 2 barrels there. Now this model is the standard barrels. There's another model that has porting on both barrels. It adds a little bit of cost to it. Some of the things people wanted us to look at was trigger pull and size. First off, I can tell you just by picking it up, it's not the smallest pistol I've picked up. Obviously, I'm a big fan of small pistols. While this one's very thin, very light, it isn't tiny. There's quite a bit of material here to hold on to. I've got a fairly large hand. You can see I've got quite a bit of room there, as much as I would have on a Glock double stack. It's kind of tall this way, but not too bad. And it does have a trigger guard, which is going to make it a little larger than the standard Derringer. We'll take a look and kind of compare that in a moment. But otherwise, comfortable to hold on to. The trigger's right there, so as far as ergonomics or mechanics-wise, it's where you'd want it for your finger, and seems to work fine, either ambidextrous, either hand. Let's take a quick look at the sights. A very small sight, just a little post up front and a channel in back, very much like the Keltec sights. It's all metal, machined out of aluminum. They also make a titanium version, very lightweight, but again, very thin. Let's take a look again inside. We've got a textured release on both sides. You just pull backwards and it's spring loaded, pops right up. I don't see any ejectors there. They had mentioned wanting to put ejectors in earlier, so I'm assuming the rounds will eject there. We can see that there's a bit of a gap, which is a loaded chamber indicator. Take a look at that closer in a moment. Kind of a neat looking back plate there for the firing pins. It is double action only, meaning there's no hammer to cock. Every time you pull the trigger, it's going to fire alternating top and bottom barrels. This is a unique firearm in the respect that it's very simple. There's only 4 parts to the trigger, and there's actually a hammer for each barrel. A lot of times it's just one hammer that has some sort of alternating striker. On this one, there's a hammer for each barrel, and there's only one other little rotating part and a lever here that make up the trigger system. So very efficient. That also leaves room for this other feature, which is a space in the handle, which we'll take again a closer look at. But that's where this speed strip comes into play. Gives you a couple extra rounds there to stow in the grip. So that's the features of this one. But now that we actually get our hands on a real production one and not just one of the prototypes at the shows, let's take a little closer look. We're looking at the 45 ACP model. There's also a 9mm model. The nice thing is when you buy one, they're both actually the same, just that the barrels are different. So when you buy one or the other, you can just push out this pin. I say it's like an AR-15 takedown pin, and swap out the barrel with a 9mm barrel. A couple $100 for the barrel. I guess let's talk about price. They're not giving these away. They're about $500. They make a titanium version that's closer to $700, and not the cheapest thing out there, but it's also a new company. But we'll leave it at that. If you don't like the price, then no need to comment. It does tell us right here not to use plus P or plus P plus, which are the overpowered rounds. So that'll answer some questions for people I'm sure they're going to ask. I thought it might compare up with the standard Remington style Derringer, which a lot of people are familiar with. On a Remington style Derringer, you have this takedown lever here that has to be swung forward. That's something to remark on because it's not something you can just do very easily while you're holding it. The barrels swing up with a hinge at the top, which is different 180 from this one, which they hinge up towards you. Because there's a lot more motion and again difficult to do with one hand and try to reload. This do have an ejector, however, which I'm surprised the double tap doesn't have, but I'm going to suggest that might be something they add in the future if there's need for it. I haven't shot it yet, so I can't really complain about that. It's just a difference. Again, once you lock that up, it's a single action, so it has to be cocked back, or the hammer needs to be cocked back, and you have a real light trigger here. These are very difficult to hold on to for most people, and a lot of people don't like them because of that, because you have some room taken up here with the hammer, and you've got to leave a finger free for the trigger there. You're not left with a lot of potential for holding on to these. They can kick quite a bit in the higher calibers, so a lot of the disadvantages in the old Remington style Derringer are just eliminated completely in this one, even though it's technically a Derringer because it's not a magazine fed and it's not a revolver because there's revolving chambers. You would call it a Derringer, but it's very much in a pistol format. Again, you do have a trigger guard. You have a 10-pound trigger there, but it's not a very long trigger. In other words, it doesn't have a lot of travel. It does have some travel, so it's not unsafe, but as far as, again, ergonomics, body mechanics there, it's not very fatiguing at all. And I've seen lots of 10-pound triggers that, your fingers actually get fatigued a little while. Not so with this one. It does have some serrations on it, but it feels smooth. So literally on my fingers, it feels like almost a smooth trigger. Again, you may or may not like that aspect of it. Let's take a look at it with something like this, a J-frame revolver, which is a fairly standard backup or deep kit conceal. And you can see that size-wise, very comparable. There's a very simple comparison. The trigger guards are about the same size. Overall grip is about the same size. Of course, the double tap is much, much thinner and limited to 2 rounds. However, they are 45 ACP, so for a lot of people that might be a lot more important to them than having a bunch of rounds or 5 rounds of 38. I thought this might be another one to take a look at. This is a SIG P290, which is a 6-round 9mm magazine fed semi-auto. And again, it's much thicker for sure. But overall, it's about the same size as the double tap. You can see that the grip's almost the same. Barrel length real similar. Of course, the big disadvantage is the lack of sights and more rounds in the semi-auto, of course. Of course, this one is a lot heavier and thicker, so trade-off there. Last, I just thought I'd bring it up with one of these polymers. This is a Keltec P380. So it's a 380. It's not a full 9mm. I just don't have a 9mm to compare it with, but size-wise, this is a better comparison. It's just a hair smaller than the double tap. But again, some people might consider 2 rounds of 45 ACP more dependable or more reliable in a Derringer style, where you just pull the trigger twice, and if there's a problem, it'll just restrike the triggers twice, which, again, an emergency situation as a last resort might just be the way to go compared to something like a semi-auto pistol. And nothing against Keltec specifically, but just the semi-auto pistol has to operate. And in this close quarter situation where something might actually be in physical contact with the firearm, the necessity of a firearm to actually cycle is just sometimes a real inherent weak link. And so like the Derringer can actually just eliminate those, again, disadvantages completely. There's nothing externally that needs to take place except your finger being able to move. So next, let's load it up. I've got some inert dummy rounds here, 45 ACP, and you can see they fit right in. And this gap in the back there becomes a loaded chamber indicator from both sides. I'm told they're fully supported chambers in there, so no issues with overpressure. It's probably, again, one of the reasons you don't use plus P or plus P plus, however. As far as ejection, they seem to work just fine, but of course these are unfired dummy rounds. It's probably going to be a little different with actual fired cases left in there. But now let's take a look at that extra compartment at the bottom. We've got basically little jimping or whatever you want to call that there, so that you can quickly get that. You don't need to use a fingernail or look for it. You just kind of push on the end of the grip there. The way I put it in, I kind of fold it, and then the little tab just flips right out, and you've got access to the speed strip. And you can see these are just hard rubber speed strips that'll accept the rounds. I'm pretty sure they're made by Tough out of California, even though they're branded by Double Tap. And the concept there is you load up a couple of extra rounds stowed in the grip like this. You could just take your 2 shots, reach back, open it up, empty those 2 out, open up the bottom, pull this out, strip them off. Good to go. So is it the best concept? Maybe not. Is it new and interesting? Definitely. Is it well built? For sure. Is it priced right? Maybe a little high for most people, but we'll see how they sell. I suspect these will sell quite well. If you have any other questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching.
Okay, I made a poll. There's a poll now. If you look at the screen, there's a poll. You can enter that poll, vote in the poll. Here's the poll.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.
You probably shouldn't watch this.
Taking a look at a pretty cool little Derringer here. This one is actually a 4570 on the top barrel, and then a 45 long Colt or 410 on the lower barrel. Made by the American Derringer Corporation over in Waco, and it's called the M4 Alaskan Survival Model. Is it the largest Derringer out there? I'm not sure, but definitely in contention. So let's take a look. First off, we'll just double check that it's empty. I sure hope it is, since I was just pointing it at the camera. But it is. See, we've got a couple of firing pins there. Our barrels. And again, we're looking at 4570 on that top barrel, .45 long Colt or 410 shotgun in that bottom barrel. Quite an impressive caliber there. And then we'll take a look at that 4570 a little closer here in a second. So it's a Derringer, like most Derringers, top loading. So you load each barrel. They sort of pivot back. You've got this lock. Once it's locked, you've got a hammer that you have to cock. You've got this safety, which only stays engaged when the hammer's sort of down. And you can see when you release tension on the hammer, safety pops out. And all that safety does is stop it from hitting them firing pins. Now this one is going to shoot the top barrel first. So let's go ahead and open it up to sort of reset it. And now we'll take a look as we cock it here at the hammer, that there's this sort of section of the hammer there. And now as I pull the trigger the first time, you can see that it comes up. I don't know how well it's going to show in the video, and it meets that top firing pin. Now as I cock it the second time, that piece drops down quite a ways, and now it's going to, on pulling the trigger, miss completely the top firing pin and hit that bottom firing pin. So that's how this one shoots the top barrel first and then the bottom barrel. So basically first time you pull the hammer back, it moves that piece up, hits the top firing pin. Second time you pull the hammer back, drops that piece down, you hit the bottom firing pin. Pretty sleek. I think it could do a lot better without this stupid warning. Right? But what are you going to do? This is the ejector. This is the extractor once it's open. This bolt is really the release for the way to open it. And you can see once the rounds are in there, once you've shot it, you push this and that brings the shells out so you can get rid of them. Again, I think personally it would look a little cooler without all the writing on it, but legal reasons they do that. It fits in your hand. It's pretty big. The handle is fairly large, so it fits in your hand. It definitely fills it up. You know you're holding on to something. Just check to make sure, since I've been putting bullets in there. Once you cock the thing, it's kind of tough to get a good grip on it, but it's not like it's going to be something you're ever going to let go of when you're shooting it. Pretty nice little Derringer.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.
Vote in that poll. Vote in the poll. Vote in the poll. There's a poll. You can vote in it.
Now this is the Cowboy Defender. It also shoots the 45 410. All the guns, all the bond arms, Derringers have a interchangeable barrels. We've got 15 different barrels you can interchange with 22 different caliber combinations. This is the most popular version. This is called the Snake Slayer. It's got a 3.5 inch barrel. It'll shoot a 2.5 inch or 3 inch 410. This one will only shoot a 2.5 inch 410. This is the Snake Slayer 4. Which is exactly the same as the Snake Slayer, just has a longer barrel, 1.25 inch barrel, which is legal in Canada. And then the top of the line package is the Ranger, and it comes with a driving holster. And that's a little over and under. Nice package. 410 shotgun. Now the way this holster works, you have a Velcro, it's a cross draw, slides up underneath the belt, cinch it up tight. Snap it, easy on, easy off. Got a thumb brake for easy removal. Doesn't get in the way when you sit or stand. You forget you have it on.
Now you mentioned that they have the convertible barrels.
Yep.
Is that difficult? Do you need tools?
Actually, all you need is a 1/8" Allen wrench, and I'll just use this one right here. There's one screw right there. It takes about 30 seconds. Thanks for stopping in. Take another barrel, 327 from a 45 410. Line up the holes, put in the screw. You're ready to go.
So if you've already owned one, you could buy the barrel.
That's right.
Change out calibers.
Right. And we have 15 different barrels. They run about 139 a piece, and we've got about 22 different caliber combinations that you can do.
So in other words, like 22 on top, 410 on the bottom.
No, if it's 22, it'd be 22 only.
Okay.
But the 45 410, you can do either shells. If you want to show this, this is the new Federal triple lock buck. Each one of the triple lock buck is in. It's a little bit bigger in diameter than 357 mag. And then the number 4 shot, which won't go through walls if you're in a situation where you self-defense and you don't want it to go through walls, this one's real popular. Or it'll shoot the 45 long clubs.
Okay. But that's because they fit in the same cylinder.
That's right.
Okay.
And 357 and 38 fit in the same
Same chamber. Okay.
And with the 327, you also can do a 32.
Oh, okay.
So, and we've got a full line of holsters, barrels, fancier barrels with gold engraving.
Looks like some different grips too.
Oh yeah, a lot of different grips. On an ATM machine, you can put that in your pocket. And, new shards for black ash. These are genuine stag with the stars. So you can customize the gun. The frame is the same, and you can switch out the grips and the barrels on all the guns.
Very nice. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.
Ooh. Whoa! Look how big that is. Holy shit. That thing probably cost $1 million. How fancy it is. I don't care about that. I care about that hoop size.
SHOT Show 2022 is one of the best SHOT Shows in decades. Let's take a look at some of our coverage of the show. One of the few guns I really wanted to see this year at SHOT Show was the Iver Johnson 4-barrel Derringer.
Don't come by me.
So 2022 at the Iver Johnson Arms. This is one of the things I wanted to check out most was this new barrel Derringer. And I was taking a look at it. You're showing me how it operates.
Yep. Flip the safety off. Cock the hammer to single action. And there you see the red dot. That's where the firing pin will be. And it rotates every time you cock it.
So each time you cock it, it rotates to the next barrel like a clock.
So you got 4 shots. 22 long rifle, and then this is also your takedown lever here.
And it's on both sides? Okay.
Yep, ambidextrous. Slides forward. If you hold it, it comes all the way off. Make it easy to empty it and rechamber. Slides back on.
Very cool. And how's the reception been?
Really good. It's an item I think will sell really well. It's been we've got a number of back orders filling up on it. So
what's the retail?
It should be $400 to $500. We'll have a set price probably in the next few months.
Right on. Obviously, you can gauge. That's what SHOT's all about. Gauging interest, and then you can start figuring out costs.
Let them know what's coming out this year.
Right on. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Appreciate it.
These look really well made and would fit right into the collection of North American Arm mini revolvers. Very cool and very similar, yet totally unique.
All I got was a sticker.
A throwback to an old design. Looking forward to your comments. Until next time, thanks for watching. We want to acknowledge the folks that helped get us to SHOT Show this year. Hope you're enjoying these small videos from stuff we saw while walking the show. Let us know what you think. We'll be watching the comments wherever you find the video, over on gunstreamer.com or on guntube.org. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourages you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com.
That's how you're supposed to put a video together. Oh, was that the end of the playlist? So that's the end of the playlist, I guess. Yeah. So we watched 13 videos. Took about an hour. I have a poll going. I'm going to go check the poll right now, and we're going to see if we're going to do another video. So right now we got 4 votes in the poll. If we should do another one of these, and we got a night vision one. The night vision one is this one. Whoops.
Here we're looking at the Lamb 1000.
We have 23 videos in the night vision one. This is back in the day, some of our first videos. Then we got Richard Marcinko. It's us hanging out with him at SHOT Show 9. 9. And then talking to him on the radio back in 2005. And then a radio show interview with him in 2005. And then I must have done a book review on one of his books. And that is 11 videos. And then the last option is 50 BMG. This is a series I did at one point 13 years ago. No, 9 years ago. 13 years ago is when I got the bug to start buying 50 BMGs because of this asshole at the Las Vegas gun show had this picture right here where he had these 50 BMGs. And this is what got me started collecting. And I was like, dang it, look at all how cool that is. And I decided right then to try starting to get something like this. This asshole had this out on the table at the gun show. And I couldn't afford to buy it all, obviously, especially back then. So I started collecting them. I bought like 3 or 4 off of them and then started. Then in 2009, I had money, or I had acquired a bunch of ammo at least by then, and started to do a series on them. So there's 23 videos there. Those are all very short videos. They're all like a minute long. They're not shorts because they're not stupid ass shorts. They're just short videos that describe all the different 50 BMGs. So that's the options. This was the Pepperbox playlist. You could watch this playlist if you want. You just watched it all in one time. This accomplishes getting the playlist all into one video. That's kind of neat. Anyway, if somebody said, or if somebody wants to vote on it, you've got a moment or two before I set up the next thing, or I guess before this ends, but nobody's voting. So I don't know if my mic doesn't work or everybody's stubborn, but nobody's voting. So we're going to be doing Richard Marcinko, which has 50% of the votes. I was actually kind of hoping to do the 50 BMGs, but nobody wanted to do anything. So we're going to go with Marcinko, who's an awesome dude, was an awesome dude. There's a whole story to us meeting him in 2010. Was it 10-9 or 10-9? Whatever year it was in Vegas, or I mean in Florida. You'll see in the thing, it'll do it. I'm going to start another one, though, so that it's not this show. So if you want, jump back. Otherwise, have a great evening. Thanks for joining.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.